Welcome to Break Through the Ordinary. You know you desire a more impactful, connected, extraordinary life. That's why we are here to bring you stories from transformational leaders, healers, and entrepreneurs who found themselves trapped in the ordinary and are now living their most extraordinary life because of a breakthrough moment. Together, we will provide world-class tips and tools enabling you to live a life purposely, aligning your heart and soul. Because we believe no one should be imprisoned by their past. We are your hosts, Mark and Claudine Tremonte, a sibling duo who transformed from an ordinary life of disconnection and loneliness to a life of purpose, love, and passion. We use our expertise, our trainings, and experience to inspire others to live an extraordinary life so they can create intimate, thriving relationships that ripple throughout the world. This podcast is only the tip of the iceberg of what is possible. If you want to dive deeper into our systems and break through the endless patterns of settling for crumbs, contact us at the btopodcast@gmail.com.
Today on this podcast of Breakthrough the Ordinary, our guest is Lia Mehmetoglu, and she is a quantum energy healer, manifestation expert, and spiritual mentor who works on subconscious reprogramming. She also helps people heal their body, mind, and soul in ways they never knew were possible, which we look forward to hearing about.
Yes.
And nice to have you here from Greece.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
So are we. I love that last statement. Mind, body, and soul. Like anything that can expand us there and heal us, I'm open to that conversation. Yeah. So why don't we start off with, sharing with us, one of your major breakthroughs that had you, have a transformation from an ordinary life to an extraordinary life?
I think for me, the main thing was just really understanding the connection between our body and spirit. And, getting to the bottom of that and realizing that everything starts internally and just really working on my energy before anything else. And I think that's where my biggest breakthrough started a few years ago.
Could you expand just for our listeners, when you say these words, energy, getting in tune, right? So everyone can be with the distinction that you have about that.
Absolutely. So everything around us is energy, everything from our cup of coffee to our plants, our home, our items, us, like everything is energy, everything vibrates, nothing is still. And, energy carries vibration. So just being really aware of, our thoughts, our emotions, even like with our health, everything has an energy. And when I realized that, when we are actually healthy energetically in our body, then everything else falls into place because everything starts there. And for me, I've recently also realized the connection between energy and the nervous system. So that's like one thing that I've been really focusing, with myself and also my clients, and just really starting from that root, having a healthy energy, a healthy nervous system, and then everything else, like business, relationships, like everything else falls into place.
So getting the temple in harmony.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Right, getting that, and it, of course, temple is, connected to God and spirit.
Okay. I look forward to investigating that deeper. First, in your words, what is the breakthrough that individuals get to have to live the extraordinary lives they seek?
I feel like it starts with self-awareness, like radical self-awareness, and really taking responsibility for our well-being, how we feel, how we act, how we react. And once we have that self-awareness, then everything else, I think, comes easier. And, with me and my clients, I'm very blessed to attract very self-conscious people that are very focused on their healing. And it's such a blessing, to work with these people and really help them understand their trauma and heal on a very deep cellular level so that they can have breakthroughs in all areas of their lives. It's not just our health, it's our finances, what we magnetize, what we attract, how we carry ourselves. So
now I'm really curious, and I may get it. So again, I think of our audience, for them to understand the link of trauma, even on a cellular level, and their attraction and manifestation. Like, how is that dance there in our wiring? Maybe it's a good place to start.
there's like a lot to unpack here. So Manifestation, what does it mean? Let's start from there. It's, when we bring our dreams, our vision into reality, right? We think of something and then we make it happen, but it's not just making it happen, it's also becoming a magnet for it. So magnetizing it into our lives. Now, manifestation happens on a subconscious level, the part of us, that 95% of us that we're not aware of, consciously aware of. Now, with healing and what I do, like quantum healing, we work on the subconscious. So, what happens there is we heal the trauma in the subconscious, and the subconscious is not in the mind, it's in the body. So, trauma is stored in the body. So, when we work with quantum healing to release the trauma from the body, what happens is our vibrational frequency naturally rises and becomes higher. So, then we become a magnet, a natural magnet for more positive experiences because our frequency is higher. So that's the connection there between healing and manifestation. It's that we manifest what we are, essentially. So not what we think or what we want, but what our subconscious translates into. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It does. Can I just put it in some words too, as I understand it? Is right when we think of pain, or as our body keeps score, as we know, it's dense, and I say heavy, but the frequency it's a duller because of the weight, quote unquote, of that. So I'm hearing like as we shed and heal that pain, naturally we lighten up, and I'm hearing right, and we can attract in a different way too, energetically. We magnetize differently.
Yeah. That's right. And we carry a lot of trapped emotions in our body. Like you would be surprised how many trapped emotions exist within our body. And then when we release those, because emotions do have a frequency, like each emotion has its own frequency, as we release the low vibrational trapped emotions, we become higher and higher in our consciousness, in our frequency. And then we naturally, start noticing and also magnetizing more positive experiences, people, we feel more worthy of our dreams. So it's all kind of like interconnected.
Okay. Well, I'm curious too. But so how do you work with clients? Well, how do you unlock all that? Because I mean, I understand it, and I think a lot of our listeners are pretty conscious, understand that, yes, it's in the body, but how do you unlock that? How do you work with people to free that?
That's my favorite question because it's because some people may hear that and be like, "What?" So it's my gift to be able to connect with people telepathically. I am psychic, very intuitive. I've had a healing gift since I was a child. So for me, it's very easy to establish an energetic connection to someone long distance. I don't even have to see the person. I just need their first name and I connect like this. It's really easy for me. So I connect to them, and then what happens is I start feeling it in my own body. So I connect to them and I can feel physically where their trauma is. And what's really cool is that each sensation that I feel for me translates into something different. So like a trapped emotion feels very different to something else like an etheric cord that needs cutting. So I can tell the difference in my body. I feel it physically. And then another gift of mine is actually psychography, which is also known as spirit writing, which means that information flows to me and I channel spirit when I write. So it's either typing on my phone or writing down, and that's how I translate the energetic information I'm receiving into actual words and language that people can understand. So I work on my clients through email. So I connect with them. I feel what's happening. I write it down, and then they receive a report, a detailed report of what's going on in their body. And that can be so many different things, trapped emotions, different trauma that they had, even limiting beliefs, even some thoughts people may have had like years ago that they may have forgotten about, but it kind of like sat in their body, weighing them down. And it's very interesting. People sometimes can actually feel it while I'm working on them too. So that's really cool. And they text me, they're like, "Hey, were you working on me 2 hours ago? I felt, kind of dizzy." So it's really fun.
Wow.
Well, I have to say, these are some concepts I've never heard about before. I've certainly know people get downloads, but I've never heard that label before when it comes to the downloads and putting into print. So I'm aware, right? And I who's the guy that you love so much, Gabor Mate?
Oh, Gabor Mate. Yeah.
Mate. who talks about that, like him and Tim Ferriss were talking about highly sensitive people. Like, so it sounds like you've been a receptive being from an early time in your life, right? Right. And I know this may not be where we thought we were going to go for it. I'm just curious for a moment. How have you nurtured that gift? Because sometimes people like have gifts and they're like, the fear sets in instead of the grace of allowing. How have you been able to nurture that and expand that for yourself
I think
as a healer?
I was kind of lucky to grow up in a family that was very open-minded about a lot of that paranormal stuff. So there were always talks about that kind of stuff, and we were always very interested in all of that. I think it's also something that runs in the family because my grandmother, my mom, they're all very intuitive in different ways. They tend to get a lot of prophetic dreams. I don't get them as much, but we do have like gifts in the family. And so there's always been stories, that we always discussed and laughed about. And so it's always been something that I was never conditioned to fear. Yeah, so from a young age, I was always very interested in these things as well. So I think that kind of like enhanced what was there. And then when I was in my early 20s, I started, coming into contact with different healing modalities. And even when I went to university, I took like alternative healing classes and Reiki and stuff like that. So I got like more and more into it until I had the opportunity to actually practice on people and get the validation that, oh my gosh, like this is all working. It's actually a thing. And so it was kind of like, a step-by-step process for me from a young age, to be where I am right now.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I think of the alchemist in the book. He says, right, we all get to live our ordained gift. Do you feel like this is this is your ordained gift?
I think so, 100%.
Yeah, that's a beautiful place to be in, because I really do think everyone has it. It's for them to tap in and to claim it for themselves.
Definitely.
Yeah, that connection to spirit, that connection, that flow. So in your work, have you noticed what the biggest blocks are, or what is most common with people when you're working with them?
I feel like there's a lot of generational trauma that is being passed down from, families or lineage. It's a lot of trauma also being absorbed in the womb, which is very interesting. When women carry a baby, a lot of the trauma that we carry as women gets passed on to our children. So that's one blockage, if you want to call it that I've noticed. But I will say the most common is just trapped emotions, because I think people are not being taught how to process their emotions in a healthy way. I think a lot of people have been taught and conditioned to either, keep their emotions in, or they've been in situations, in their families where it was unsafe to be emotional or to express what they felt, and it's all come from just a trauma response. I mean, our parents, did the best they could with us. They didn't know how to process their own emotions. And so it's just been a cycle of suppressing and suppressing and suppressing. So that's one thing I see a lot. It's just a lot of trapped emotions in people.
Can I just follow up on that? So in your work, I know, because I used to teach and channel spirit, and is it the spirit and the channeling that's clearing people, or are you having them do physical release or having to express that emotion, or is just spirit cleaning it out?
That's a very interesting question. I think when I do my sessions, I work with the client's higher self. It's basically them doing the clearing. So it's me, my higher self, and then them and their higher self. So it's kind of like a collaboration between the two of us. And, once I connect to their body, I also have permission from their body to just assist them to do the work themselves in a way. So they're clearing the trapped energies, and I'm just kind of like assisting in that, if that makes sense.
Very interesting. And I think you're right. One of the things that we've seen, and I think it's why like Brene Brown's book has been so popular, like the Atlas of the Heart, is the idea that we have more than four emotions, right? Or giving people permission to speak about, their emotions. And generationally or intergenerationally, that wasn't the culture or the message that they received. When you speak about the energy, the emotion, the intergenerational trauma, how does that impact wealth and this manifestation of wealth? Because I know that's part of your coaching is wealth manifestation. So if you could help us link that before you speak about how you approach it as a coach, I'm just kind of curious for people to understand it.
So with generational issues, there's a lot of unworthiness, undeservingness kind of trauma in the body, but also limiting beliefs around money, around working, and what we should be doing. We need to work hard to get to where we want to be, or things like, I can't have everything, types of beliefs around what we can have, how we can have it, how we can manifest money. It's kind of like the old paradigm. And I think as a collective, we're now shifting into a whole different, with social media, with the world is changing. So things are really, really changing, and we are able to attract a lot more wealth in a lot more easier ways than the past. So I think a lot of these old beliefs are coming up now to be released. And I'm noticing, especially, with the worthiness issues, I think that's a big one. I'm now worthy of more because I need to have degrees, I need to have this, I need to have that. And so it is for sure passed down from like generations. So I'm noticing, a lot of that has been absorbed by our parents and their parents and so on.
So there's a lot of trend breakers, right? I always think of the brave hearts who say no more. It stops here. And there's usually, like in the past, we called them the black sheep of the family, or there was that one person that stood out in the family, like, oh, that's that aunt over there. And we've had that in our family, right? We have an aunt who has broken some things. Mark and I chose to become seekers in our family, changing patterns. And I appreciate you bringing that up because, right, to the old paradigms and the new are colliding in some ways. I mean, people want to be loyal to the past, but it's not going to serve, not with the economy, like you said. Things are changing so quick. Like, right, even this pandemic is a great example of this is a new paradigm. We don't have a point of reference. There's nobody alive that has a point of reference. So we got to create it, and we have to continue to create new reference points. Then how do you work as a coach in this wealth manifestation, knowing the new paradigm, what's being released? How does that look in terms of coaching?
So I feel like I'm putting a lot of different things out there as far as offers go. Right now I'm doing one-on-one coaching on Voxer, which is a walkie-talkie app. And so a lot of it is just kind of like talking with my clients, supporting them in what they need, and kind of like combining all of my different gifts and manifestation, mindset, all that kind of stuff together. I do have a couple of programs out there as well. So I have, a lot of different offers that I help people with manifestation, but I always combine, the healing aspect to it too. So it's not just like strictly, manifestation had to manifest, but we do like a lot of the healing work as well.
Great. So I'm hearing that. And I think that's a very different approach because a lot of people think like wealth. No, I'm just going to invest or I have to do this to make wealth. And I'm hearing you say, right, there's a holistic here. There's a healing and a releasing and maybe an inviting of spirit too, to allow wealth to become, your birthright.
Exactly.
For you to own it.
Yeah.
Which is a different paradigm.
Very different paradigm.
Than
right.
Get, take, and
yeah.
it's all
right.
mine.
Not 401k driven.
Yeah.
So what are some of the first steps somebody should take to start clearing this out or start to want to live a fulfilled life or move to that place?
I honestly feel like energy work is so important because my world changed when I started getting energy work on myself. I started with receiving Reiki, long distance, and it truly did change my life. I noticed a lot of mindset shifts happened. My business took off, relationships, everything just kind of shifted for me. So I think for people, regardless of what their goals are, just starting working with someone who does energy work. And there's so many different modalities out there. There's the quantum healing that I do, there's Reiki, there's emotion code, there's tapping, just so many different beautiful modalities. And just, I encourage people to look into, what interests them and what kind of like pulls them and start with that. And they're going to start noticing such big shifts in every area of their life.
That's great. How about in terms of bringing that into relationship? Mark and I like to explore, relationships in particular. And how do you see this also influencing relationship, with family, partner, children? Is there a place that these all intermix?
I actually love working on the relationship aspect with my clients because it's one of the things that I've noticed that people get the most benefit on. I don't know why, but so I think it has to do with the cords that people share with each other. So a couple share an etheric cord. And a lot of the times, with arguments, or with like the dynamic having an imbalance, like that cord can get a little bit murky and needs clearing. And so I'm noticing amazing results when we clear these cords and the trapped emotions that are shared between the couple. And we're noticing communication getting better, people, kind of like regaining that spark in their relationship, and things just kind of like improving overall. And it's beautiful to witness. So yeah, I love working on couples and just helping them clear any trapped emotions between them, clearing that cord. A lot of the times that cord can also move. So it should be heart to heart between the couple, but sometimes it can move. So if there's like manipulation in their relationship, the cord can move up to the head or down to the gut, and so on. So it's very interesting, and like correcting that can truly create such a big shift.
Do you work with the couple, or do you work with one of the individuals in the couplehood to create the clearing and the shift?
Usually just on the one person, because I like to go deep and just work on the individual. But it's interesting how we notice the shift just by working on one person. A lot of the times my clients will book a session for their partner and a session for themselves. But even with working on the one person, we definitely see the difference after the session. So it's pretty cool.
That sounds great.
So I'm curious because relationship, it can come anywhere in life, but especially in yourself. We talk about alignment a lot, being aligned. So where does energy play in this, or is everything about the energy being in align? Can you share about that?
Well, I mean, being in alignment has to do with just doing the things that really nourish us on a soul level, and not doing the things that we have been taught we should be doing, or that we've been conditioned to do. So alignment is just about following our highest, most fitting path for us, if that makes sense. And it is all about energy. I mean, it's always about the energy. So when my clients are like, oh, I want to get more into alignment, it's more so about just releasing the stuff that they're holding on to, like the limiting beliefs, the energies that are keeping them in a place of playing small, if that makes sense, and fearing to really go for their dreams and do the scary thing. Because, with intuition and alignment, a lot of the times, what you feel like you really want to do won't make sense. It's not the logical thing to do. It's a lot of the times the risky thing to do. And that's the thing that's going to put you into alignment. So my goal really is just to remove all of the stuff that holds you back. And then, the person can naturally just feel a little bit more courageous, right? To go for it.
Jump in.
Yeah. How do you, coach your clients into staying in alignment? Like in this session, we're both being coaches as well as being a coachee. I've certainly been in coaching for years, as well as psychotherapy as a client. And I think that's the piece, is when we're out of the sessions is our work. Like we do work in sessions, there's no doubt. And how to keep our clients in their work for themselves. Do you have ways that you help them, or they get to access for themselves to stay in alignment, to check in?
The integration.
I intentionally point here to our third eye and to our intuition that that you could suggest.
It's a combination of mindset work and really just activating them. I see myself as an activator. So reminding my clients, when they tell me, for example, of an issue they have, I'm like, is that your soul speaking, or is that your human side? Because we have our higher self, our soul, that is all knowing, knows exactly what they want. And then we have, our human self, our inner child, right, whose needs are not being met. And so I make sure I make them aware of who is speaking. Like when you're speaking about your struggles, who is really struggling? Is it your higher being, or is it your human? And then we do a lot of somatic work. I have them do a lot of breath work, really just kind of like practices that will connect them with their soul, so that they can discern the difference between, okay, this is my trauma speaking, and this is my intuition, my spirit, my higher being speaking. So we make that distinction. And then we do, the energy work, the somatic work, a lot of mindset talks. And then it's just that activation. I mean, when you work with someone, just by being in the room together, or the walkie-talkie, whatever it is, you activate each other. So a lot of the time, it's not even what you say or what you do, but just being there, that soul connection, it's so activating for one another that sometimes even that's enough for people to just say, you know what, I feel better, or I feel ready to just go for it and do the thing. So it's a combination of things that we do.
I do appreciate those two questions though. Who's speaking, right? To become our own observer is always the gift there. And I also heard you say like sometimes we have to do something to ourselves, like I'll call it grounding, right? Regulating, so that we can actually hear, because the static sometimes is so like I don't know who's talking.
So much
It's like
static, yeah.
that's yeah, right. That's the voice that's always talking. Well, like you said, it's the child, it's the trauma, it's the conditioned voice, and how to regulate so we have access, to our highest good.
For sure.
Okay.
And sometimes it's even absorbed energies from other people. I mean, we're on social media all day long. We pick up on so many things, thoughts, ideas, emotions from other people. And then at the end of the day, you feel so scattered and you're holding on to things that are not even yours. So that's like another thing there that we have to make sure we release.
I agree. Any cleansing like practices that you would suggest? Like I heard you say, like we do breath work in the session, and we're both believers in breath work ourselves. I find for the clients that we work with is having them be in practices and habits outside the session so that they can do that. Are there some that you find that support your clients the most that they establish for themselves?
We go intuitively with each client and I just channel what they need in the moment. But we do a lot of shaking work. So, shaking the body, dancing, movement, because that, can release a lot of things. Sometimes through rituals, just lighting a candle and sitting down and just breathing, and allowing the fire to transmute what's not yours into light. So it depends on the client really and what they need in the moment. So it's all very, very intuitive.
This brought up a question for me because I agree that we take in energies from everywhere and there's so much energy everywhere coming at us. Do you teach also ways of protection?
I do.
Like, or you do? Can you share? I'm curious to.
It's actually very simple and it goes back to that self-awareness. So just being very aware of yourself and how you're feeling. Because I think a lot of the time we're on autopilot and we really need to become very focused on how we're feeling in the moment. And then when you feel off, to bring attention to that and ask yourself, is this mine? So bringing attention to that. And with shielding and protection, it's very simple. Just literally the minute you wake up or before you leave the house, set the intention for an invisible bubble to go around you and all over you to protect you from external energies. So I do that as much as I remember. I try every single day, but with my kids and all the craziness, even I don't do it every day. But when I do it, I notice a big difference. So like I'll go out and I'm not going to get drained. But if I don't do it and I go out, I may feel drained. I may feel a headache coming on, just kind of like absorbing all of people's emotions around me. So just being very intentional, saying that I am shielding myself right now, visualizing this like invisible bubble going over you. And it's really that simple.
I appreciate that. You're right. I think of it. I do that with my sessions, but I think there's a greater piece here of the overall, and so I think that's a suggestion for my morning practices.
Well, I asked it because I know some people. Some of us take energies on even more, and some maybe. Some call it demonic or evil, whatever energies. And I realized that people need protection. And I was just curious. I'm
We
curious
do
how
a lot of
people are doing
cleansing
that.
practices too. So like this is like the simplest one for shielding. But then if you do end up absorbing some things, there's definitely practices that we do to cleanse. Quantum clearing is one of them. So like through the sessions. But I also encourage my clients to do a couple other things that help. Like smudging with Palo Santo or sage. Another very interesting one is actually egg cleansing. I don't know if you guys heard of it, but
Not that one.
very interesting. So this is actually a practice. I think it comes from Central America, but when it was shown to me, it was in a vision. And it was during a session that I was doing for a client back in like 2019. And I was showing this vision of like me holding an egg and just rubbing it on me, on my body. And I was like, what is this? And I ended up looking it up and it was a thing. It's like a cleansing practice that they do in Central America and it's like ancient. So I started incorporating it and ever since like I've been using it for me, for my children, and it helps with so many things. If I feel like I've received like what we call the evil eye in my culture here in Greece,
Yeah,
Yeah,
Steve
yeah. Or
Law.
if my children seem a little bit fuzzy and like they can't sleep, like I rub the egg on them and then you just crack it in water and flush it. And it works so well. Somehow, don't ask me how, but the egg pulls the negative energies from the body. It acts as a
Wow.
magnet. Yes.
I don't eat eggs, but I've now found the reason to buy them.
See?
So literally a raw egg, and is it on the clothing or on skin that you would have them rub it?
It doesn't really matter. You just want to rub it everywhere. I do like the palms, bottoms of feet, like literally everywhere. And if you have pain, you can even go over the area a little bit more. And it can help with that too. A lot of the times pain is energetic. My mom once got a random pain on her leg and it wouldn't go away. And I'm like, you know what? Let me try the egg thing. And it literally went away instantly. And she was like floored.
So we're
Thank
gonna
you.
after this, we're gonna go upstairs and start rubbing ourselves in
So,
eggs.
yes.
Oh, thank you. That was wonderful. I
That's
think
fun.
it's so important to have both the shielding and the protection as well as the clearing, right? Like I have my clients where we do a lot of Mother Gaia, right? Lying down in the grass, feeling the dirt and the sand. But I think so many people also live in apartment buildings and grass is not as accessible. And it's like, okay, that doesn't mean there's no like there's so many clearing, right? Great Shakti dances are, great cleansers type of thing. So thank you for sharing that. That
You're
was
welcome.
wonderful. Is there any other words of wisdom that you would like to share with our listeners? We'll be sharing how to contact you, but other things that you would like them to know, or any last golden nuggets.
Absolutely. So people can find me on Instagram. I'm on Facebook as well. I have a private community there called Spiritual Bliss with Lia that I founded in 2017, I want to say. And it's a beautiful family. It's just like 2,000 people. And we talk about all kinds of things in there, the cleansing stuff and intuition. We do a lot of psychic practice exercises too, where I help people develop, their own gifts. It's a free group. So yeah, everyone is welcome to join. And then on Instagram, you can find me on there. That's where I add value the most. I have my links there, all of my services, all the things that I do. I'm in my stories every day, sharing wisdom. But if I were to leave you with one thing, would be honestly just to enjoy your life. Because I think a lot of people think to be spiritual, you have to kind of like say no to a lot of human things, where that's not true. Like we are here incarnated from spirit into a human body to have a human experience. So I think we get very confused and like, I have to be more spiritual. Like, no, you're here to have a human experience at the time. Like you'll go back to spirit. Don't worry about that. You'll be back there eventually. So enjoy your human body while you can, make sure you nourish yourself, take care of yourself, and treat your body good, because that's your temple, and your spirit side and your human side are interconnected. So if your body is not feeling well, your spirit is not as well. So just nourish yourself, have fun, and enjoy your human experience while you're here.
Great, thank you.
Period. Right. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that you shared your human body today with us with your spiritual knowingness. That's the gift, and I hope our listeners really receive some beautiful nuggets today of wisdom and opportunity to tap in.
There's so many fun things to try and do and explore and be curious. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I thank you from across the oceans to make time for us and having this conversation today, and we wish you many blessings.
Thank you so much for having me. That was so much fun.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Our intention is that you take these tools to break through any limitation holding you back from living your extraordinary life. If you would like to learn more about our group and individual coaching, contact us at thebtopodcast@gmail.com. Please support us and the podcast by following us and leaving a rating or review. To catch all the latest, follow us at the BTO Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.